hopefully we are now live, and hopefully there are people watching.
Definitely see a few
Hopefully
familiar
somebody in the
faces
chat
popping
can
in
say
the
they
chat.
can see us. Yes, but can they see us this week? For those listening in the future, last week we had a little bit of a wobbly start where people couldn't see us.
It looks like we are live.
And people can see us. That's good. I've decided I wanted to save my bandwidth and not have it open. So I'm getting messages saying that we can be seen loud and clear. So that is good news. Hey, we made it this week. We didn't have a disastrous start. Now that I must give a thanks out to Jamie Page, who last week spent some time with me and showed me exactly what I should have done, which I didn't do for last week's. So he's a good egg, and thank you very much for ensuring that we do start now on a good footing this week.
It's almost like he's done a bit of this streaming stuff before, isn't it?
I've heard rumour. Yes, I've heard rumour that he is knows a little bit about it, and that's
sorry, I derailed you then.
Useful to have. Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself again?
I would say. Yeah, who am I? Yeah, well, let's have a look. Yeah, start again. We're going to have this kind of start moment. That'd be a good point for the audio podcast. If for the edit later in the week, I can just chop off the first minute or so. So yeah, welcome to episode 2 of Makers Waffle, the new community maker podcast or maker community podcast.
Fill in the gap.
Perhaps I need to get a script. Yeah, I'm Andy Pugh, joined together by my good friend Jamie Reeder.
Hello.
And we're joined this week with our very first guest. We thought we'd give him the bragging rights, Mr. Chris Smith, who also goes as his name as the Woodgineer.
Welcome.
Now, unlike most podcasts, we're not going to have a few minutes. Actually, I say like most podcasts. Most podcasts don't have anything like this at all anyway. But like a lot of maker podcasts, we're not going to start with lots of introduction. We're just going to dive straight into some chat and hopefully cover some of the introductory type things that normally happen where somebody explains who they are and what they've been doing and how they got involved in stuff, and hopefully that'll come out in the chat and we can always fill in the gaps later if we think that maybe something's been missed.
So I thought we'd jump straight in with Chris. What's your favourite type of quiche?
I hate quiche. Honestly, I hate the stuff. I don't know why.
I mean, we have to start somewhere, and that seemed like a perfect starting point.
It just looks horrible. It's this messy blob on my plate, and it just looks healthy. Tastes too good to be true. No, it's not for me.
No,
tastes too good to be true. So you actually do like the taste of it?
No, it's not for me.
At the risk of becoming fools with tools or food with tools or whatever they are, those other people. Chris, Makerspaces. That's your current sort of, not so much obsession, but that's something you've been heavily involved with.
Yeah, I mean, not for a few years, but as in I set up the Southampton Makerspace with a few others. Absolutely fantastic little place. And of course, I've been at Maker Central representing Makerspaces and organised a stand for them at Maker Central before. I suppose it is my field of expertise. Not so much my passion these days, because there's not really a local one, unfortunately, where I live. I'm sort of smack bang in the middle between two big ones, which is a shame.
Two big ones being?
You've got the Gosport Makerspace and the Southampton Makerspace, and I'm sort of somewhere in that little no man's land in the middle. And there's just not enough local population to warrant one, sadly.
Do you miss it? I mean, do you miss being in the Makerspace?
I miss going down there and surrounding myself with really, really clever people. I mean, the Southampton one, you've got about 10 or so guys that work at IBM, and they know everything you could possibly know about coding. You need to know any kind of electronics question, and there's someone there that can help you out. You just surround yourself in genius, and of course, by osmosis, it all sort of goes into you. Unfortunately, the closest thing I've got now is a WhatsApp group full of a bunch of guys like you. And
we can only apologise.
Yeah, you can only learn so much. Well, I really do miss it.
Keep learning.
Yeah, it's not the tools as well, because there's people that go to these places who can't afford a CNC or a laser cutter or even a table saw or anything like that, that's not a problem for me. But it's so much fun going down there and actually working on a project, and then 20 people asking you what you're doing, and then you going through and explaining it, and then also getting a few ideas on how to improve it and make it better. And yeah, it's just a massive buzz. And then you get to help people out as well. Yeah.
But does that is that sort of comparative to like a YouTube collaboration sort of thing then?
Yeah. But you can't beat, as I think we all know from the last year and a half, 2 years nearly, you can't beat face-to-face stuff.
Yeah, dealing with people.
There's something to be said for actually holding up a project and someone helping you with it, and I miss that. But at the same time, the YouTube channel is great. You still get to work with people. You still get to do some really fun stuff.
Yeah, you've done quite a few sort of maker collaborations, I suppose, haven't you? Or like community-based, for charities or organisations or things like that.
Yeah, did one with yourself, Jamie, with the Makers Nuts project. That was great.
Yeah, exactly.
Little bit of awareness for testicular cancer, and we made some fun stuff.
We did indeed. But I suppose because that's a good in as well, because you were quite early on with the 3D printing scene as well. I know our sort of project. I threw a 3D printed nut cooler your way, but I know it was your sort of early involvement with, I suppose, with the makerspaces as well, isn't it? With like the early sort of Mendels and the proper old school 3D printing.
Oh yeah, the things that were like pulled together with a scrap of wood, some threaded bar, and just whatever plastic you could get hold of. And if you were really lucky, you might find someone else in the country who could also print the plastic parts for you. It was at that point, and it was great because the makerspace at the time, it was very small. We basically met up at a local pub once every 2 weeks or so. We had our first 3D printer because I decided let's kind of build it all together and stick it down there and we can show it off. And wow, I mean, people don't think these days, well, that's just another 3D printer. Back then,
yeah, of course,
just blew everyone's mind.
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Something that's like you say, sort of cobbled together from whatever materials you could get your hands on, as opposed to now you get them in Aldi and places like that. It's just buying a 3D printer at the supermarket sort of thing is sort of in a relatively short time. As leaps and bounds, I suppose, or worlds apart, really.
Yeah, I mean, my first one was like the print bed was IKEA mirror tiles because that was the closest thing we could find size-wise. The extruder didn't use any fancy, like, it literally used a bit of wire going around it to make a heating element, and that was a bit dodgy. The electronics was all mounted on a plastic CD case. All the threaded bar was just scrap stuff that I managed to get from work. End stop was a little block of wood. It was, and I love that machine.
It's worth mentioning. What you just sort of teasing into something there. You mentioned work. People may not know what you do for a living, and how might that connect with things?
Back then, when I built the printer, I was working in the construction industry as a draftsman, so more or less. Now I work for an amazing company that builds printers, not 3D printers, not even desktop printers. We're talking big printing presses, real specialized stuff. Like
2D sort of flat stuff.
2D printers. I know you've heard of these. Yeah. But massive reels of web to do labels, packaging, boxes. I mean, it's silly little things like phone cards, with the old silver scratch off, stuff like that. All the way up to, like, everyone knows the After Eight wrappers. The amount of work going into folding and gluing up and taking a little notch out and putting a little bit of silver paint onto an After Eight wrapper is actually quite complicated. And our company makes those. And currently, I'm the project manager, helping to make sure those machines go out the door in relatively good time.
And does that fit? Do you think that fits with your maker-mindedness?
A little bit.
For some people, making is an escape from their day job. Yeah, you often find a lot of woodworkers often tend to work in IT, and they need to get away from a keyboard and a screen. They woodwork. But
there
some
is
people,
a little
it's
bit.
just an extension of their work.
Yeah, it's a bit of both because the engineering involved at work. Yeah, I don't get my hands on as much as I want with a set of hex keys and actually fixing up a press, but I'm still involved in the engineering and the design, and it still really interests me. But at the same time, it's all technology, and being able to just like to walk away from that at the end of the day, get onto a lathe, even do some carving just with a piece of wood and a knife. That disconnect is lovely. And I don't think I've made any secrets of this, even to my employers, that one day I'd love to be a full-time maker. Although, of course, there's that little worry we all have. Suddenly, if you start doing that, will that suck them the joy out of it?
Becomes a job then, doesn't it?
Yeah. But let's worry about that one day when it happens.
I was going to say, that's a risk to take, isn't it? Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. There's a very pertinent question in the chat that I think we need to get the answer to straight away before it goes completely haywire. It's Chris, where did you get your shirt? That seems to be the most common question so far, like every other message in the chat.
That's fair. Banggood.com.
Are they you deal with Banggood occasionally, don't you, for your videos?
Yeah, I had a couple of freebies from Banggood, done a few reviews on them, and as I've mentioned many times to you guys before, I'm an affiliate as well. So every single time you consider buying something, I harass you and tell you to use my affiliate links.
We've noticed it once or twice.
Yes, indeed.
An hour.
Yeah, I do apologize. No, I don't apologize. Just use the links. I get a little bit of money. It's all good.
Useful thing to talk about. Can we just sort of talk about that? Because I mean, we do recognise within the Makers Waffle kind of chat group that you are the kind of Mr. Affiliate.
That's not the term you usually use.
Yes, but I'm trying to keep it PG.
That's fair enough.
So yeah, we regard you as sort of Mr. Affiliate. Now, some people may not know really what that means. They may occasionally see it on video. People say, "Oh, look, there's an affiliate link."
Yeah, that's possible.
What is affiliate for? Yeah, what happens when we click on an affiliate link?
Yeah, every company's different, but for the most part, you click on a link. There's a little cookie that goes on your computer, and you buy whatever it is, whether that be through Amazon or Banggood or whoever, and the affiliate gets a little tiny percentage of the profit. The person who clicks on a link doesn't pay any more. They should know that they've clicked on an affiliate link because that's usually made pretty clear. And
it's actually a requirement, certainly in the States.
Certain on Amazon is
and Amazon insist that you make it clear that it's an affiliate link.
That's right. So yeah, you get a tiny little bit of percentage of that profit, and it helps support your hobby or your channel or whatever you're doing. I think it's fantastic because it means tiny little YouTubers like myself, compared to people with 1 million subscribers who get loads of income and sponsorship deals and stuff. It means that we can still make a little bit of money to help pay the bills. I think everyone who's got a YouTube channel should do it.
Definitely.
That's a useful thing maybe for the audience to think about. Yeah, if they may not be in the position to support their kind of favourite makers by Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee or one of the other kind of more direct support lines. Obviously, people can share, which is a useful thing to do. But actually, to give somebody monetary support, they can sort of click on the affiliate link. Costs them nothing extra, and that person gets a little bit of money from, as you say, Amazon or Banggood, which pays for tools and sandpaper and the like.
Yeah, I think it's probably also worth noting that for those sort of considering that with those like affiliate links, if you were to go on to, if you just happen to be watching your favorite YouTuber and there's an affiliate link in the description box below, it's something like to Amazon or Banggood or wherever. When you click on that link, that generally lasts for the rest of the day. So if you happen to buy something later on that day, that would still count as an affiliate click-through. So, it's even just when YouTubers say, "Oh, there's affiliate links below, help support the channel." It really does. That just even that click-through to just then buy something later on is even if it's completely unrelated to the item they've posted.
So
something else might the thing they've recommended.
Yeah. The great thing is as well, some affiliate schemes like Banggood actually have a 30-day cookie that sits in there, so you might buy something the next week and still help you support your favorite maker.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Yeah, Amazon sadly just do a day.
Yeah. No, you can't use your own affiliate link though before you give it a try.
Sadly not.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think the amount most of us spend on Amazon, I think it's a shame, a bit of money back, isn't it, on your own sort of purchases? But yeah, no.
It's understandable.
Be,
I try and
open to abuse.
Indeed. I mean, for example, I try to, generally speaking, buy stuff through your links, Andy, for the most part, unless there's someone else that's sort of popped up in my head at the time.
Yeah, hopefully at some point the Makers Waffle will become big enough and we'll add it onto there, and then we can use it to generate support for.
I mean, we've got to go after Joe Rogan with something, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah. So it's going to be, once we get the website up and running, I bought the domain name. So
yeah. Unfortunately, though, you do see what people have bought, especially when you're on Amazon and stuff. And oh my, some of the stuff you naughty guys buy. I mean,
sorry, I can only apologise.
Yeah.
But if it gave you any inspiration, then by all means.
But don't worry, it's all.
And as Chris says, he often buys stuff through my link. I'm not saying anything.
Oh. Yeah, forgot about that. Okay.
Should we change the subject? Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, Darren's just asked a little while back a question talking about kind of going back to the maker spaces. Yeah, about kind of having your own space and working in a maker space. Yeah, what does that give you in terms of challenges, opportunities, perhaps?
Good question.
Yeah, there's absolutely massive advantages and disadvantages to both. The great thing is, of course, about working in a public space is you've got people around who either get stuck or you just want a bit of inspiration or bounce some ideas off. Even if they know nothing about what you're doing, let's say you're talking to a plumber and you're an electrician, those two famously mix well, as you know. That guy still might give you some ideas. It's really good to just to mix it up and speak to these different people. At the same time, of course, you're using shared tools. I don't know about any of. Well, we all have it, don't we? We lend a tool to a family member. It comes back. It's got rust on it and a chunk taken out of it, a bite taken out of it. I mean, you just why? How did you? No. And so as you can imagine, sharing tools amongst 100 people can be problematic for insurance reasons, and of course, maintaining and keeping those tools in, so you can find them first of all, and also so they're actually working. So yeah, that can be a problem.
I can well imagine that.
Yeah.
Do you have like individual lockers for tools that you're using, or is it all honestly checked back in or something? Or
a lot of hackerspaces and makerspaces do have like a private box where you have your own bits and pieces, and that people aren't going to rummage through them. But you can't all have your own private tools because obviously you need like a giant space to do that.
Of course,
sadly.
But you can't really fit a table saw into a really useful box, can you?
Yeah. Most established spaces, though, they have rules like you have to have some training before you use a particular type of tool. Which is good because it does mean that some random person can't rock up on 1 week, break the table saw and disappear forever.
Or hopefully not kill themselves on the table saw.
There's that as well.
I'd like to actually go back to the origins of the makerspace, because I've got a dream list of things that I want to do. And one of those is to start a makerspace, because certainly where I am in Kent, there is a makerspace it's about 15 miles away, but given the roads in Kent, that's 40 minutes drive, and it's a tiny little room, and they concentrate mostly on electronics. They do some fantastic projects. I've seen some of the work that they do online. But it's a tiny, tiny space, and given the kind of controls with COVID, I can imagine at best they're going to have 2 people in at a time, given sort of current restrictions. But I'm interested, kind of, how you go about starting, how you went about starting a makerspace. It's become quite a successful makerspace, and one of the kind of perhaps more well known. If you start looking into the UK makerspaces, it is one of the kind of, it's not the biggest. There are some bigger ones, and there are ones with many more people.
Oh yeah.
Generally tend to be in bigger places, a little bit more central, perhaps. So yeah, how did it start? Yeah, was it just you? Did you just rock up somewhere? Did you stick an advert in the local paper, or
it's very, yeah. I always tell people it's community first. Unless you're really lucky enough that someone's got some free property that you can take advantage of and use, it's community first. You need to have a certain amount of people who are willing to go, let's start a makerspace. I didn't found this thing on my own. We found 4 or 5 other people at the time who had the time and the willingness to go, well, we have to make a structure. We have to sign ourselves up as directors just to get all the legal stuff in place and go for it. But it wasn't just us 5. We had about 20 people who were keen and helped just look around for a suitable site as well. So yeah, community always comes first, unless you're lucky. That said, there's another avenue which is becoming in the last couple of years like really, really possible, and it's your local men's shed. I mean, everyone here has heard about men's sheds. I've always said to people, bear with me on this one, grab hold for the ride. They are a waste of space, as in literally space. The concept is amazing. The people that go there are often brilliant. You can learn so much from them, but often they're there during the day and empty during the evenings when all the people who want to join a hackerspace or a makerspace like yourself want to actually use the equipment. And there's a lot of crossover as well with the equipment and a lot of skills that can be transferable. And that's one of the reasons about 4 or 5 years ago we started a men's shed at the Southampton Makerspace, and it worked brilliantly. You had old guys who retired who could teach coders who've never picked up a hammer before in their life, how to do some carpentry. And you'd had these same people teach these old guys who'd never even heard of a 3D printer to get onto Thingiverse and start 3D printing stuff. And it works beautifully, because there's, of course, typically your men's sheds are used during the day, during your typical hours when retired people were free.
Of course, yeah.
So it's a really good avenue. And of course, there's way more men's sheds throughout the country. So why not have a word with your local one and say, do you know what? We've got a couple of us who potentially want to do a little bit of use your tools, maybe meet up once a week on an evening. Can we possibly use your space? Offer them a little bit of money, a little bit of support, and it could work out beautifully.
Can I go back a step? Yeah. Sorry, I mean, they do. I think, they do work hand in hand. Certainly in the 2019 Men's Shed conference, online conference, I think it was the 2019 one, they had a number of people talking about how men's sheds and makerspaces essentially can work together. And I think I think Froome, have a variety of what they call them sheds, but there's a men's shed which is the traditional. Let's support generally older men who are retired, who don't have, perhaps they've lost a loved one, they've lost a job, they don't have those things in their life anymore, and they need support, perhaps with mental health, and that's best done shoulder to shoulder rather than sitting in front of a therapist.
Yeah. But
they also had a makerspace, which tended to be younger people, tended to be those professional people. They also had a woman's shed, so they had mixovers as well. So there was kind of there was the men's shed, which was just the men. There was the women's shed that was just the women, but there was also the kind of where the men and the women wanted to work together, and so that created this space. But I want to take a step back, because you said that about 5 or 6 of us got involved as trustees, and there were about 20 behind. But how did you 5 get together? Were you just people did you work with them? Were they people that you already knew?
No, I knew none of these people. We basically one guy who now does I can't remember the name of his software. I've got a sticker somewhere. Is it Graphile? Jamie, you'd know this one. Some fancy coding thing that I know nothing about. Basically, he did that stuff for a living. He wanted to do a little hackathon, invited a bunch of people around to his house. I thought, well, this is good. We'll do a little meetup maybe at a pub. And that's where I came along and realized, hang on, these people want to start a hackerspace. And it was very much, I don't want to get into the wording at the moment, but it was very much a hackerspace. We wanted to code and tinker around with electronics and do little bits and pieces like that. And that was just in the pub once, and then we thought, do you know what, let's make this a monthly thing. And then there was enough people to make it a 2 weekly thing. Then there was a really nice company in Southampton called Etch, who let us use in the evening, once a week, their offices upstairs,
nice.
which is great. Of course, because you get more and more people, you get that critical mass, and you get the ability to, get things like that. And then we started looking around to see if we could actually find a physical space that we could call our own. We said to everyone, look, we've got to find somewhere. We've got to kick this off. We've got enough people happen to donate tools and bits and pieces. So we thought, yep, let's give that a try. We found a little corner of a cycle workshop.
Cool.
A guy that was just basically taking all the old bikes left behind from students at the end of every year, fixing them up and selling them for charity, and and make a bit of money, obviously. He let us have a corner of his little workshop. So we thought, great, that's a good start. Everyone, let's assume that we've got bills to pay, rent to pay, and let's start having some kind of membership fee. Very much pay what you can afford at the time, because we didn't want finance to be a restriction for anybody. We had a couple of students, we had a couple of people on disability as well. So we didn't want to discount them just because they couldn't afford a little monthly sub that didn't really equate to anything. And when we got to enough point and it was sustainable enough to go, we can do this, we rented an industrial unit, just a little one. And then a year later, we rented a bigger one. And now they're looking at an even bigger one.
Sounds like it's definitely a very sort of organic growth for the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and there's risk, of course.
Yeah, of course there will be. I mean, is it being run sort of as a business, or is it being run as a charity, or is it?
Most of these spaces around the country are run by a company limited by guarantee. So a business, but with no intention of actually making any profit, which makes tax really easy to do. You still need to get the old tax man in, obviously, and do bits and pieces. But yeah, most of them are run like that. There's a few CICs. I think there's one or two charities as well.
CIC?
It's Community Interest Corporation. I'm not sure what the actual last C stands for. Point is, though,
It could be company or corporation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably something like that. There was a lot of paperwork. We looked into it, and there was so much paperwork for so little reward, it was pointless. We thought, no, why do this? Everyone knows exactly where their money is going. We have transparent accounts. There was a couple of little benefits that it might have offered, could have opened the door maybe for a few more grants, for example. But we were sustainable. We were growing slowly. So we didn't need to worry about that.
That sounds very exciting.
It was.
And did that, sort of thinking a bit about your history, were you doing YouTube before you got into the Makerspace, or did the Makerspace was just something that caught your attention because you wanted something to do, and then you got into YouTube? No,
YouTube is one of those things that I've been saying for the last, how long has YouTube been going? 15 years? Something like that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much since the beginning I've been going, yeah, I'm going to start a channel and maybe some of the stuff I make I could put on there. And it just never got around to doing it. In fact, the downside of starting a Makerspace and running it and making it really profitable is I had no time to do any of the stuff that I wanted to do. So actually, I went in there a lot, didn't get a chance to work on my own projects so much, spent more time tidying up and looking at other people's projects and helping them. That's not to say I don't regret that. It was absolutely amazing fun, but unfortunately just never got around to doing it until I moved, really, and then had the opportunity to say, all right, well, I've got my own little space now. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Do it. Friends of mine have done it and have done quite well out of it. So if they can, I can.
So what's the driving force there then? Is it to sort of grow the channel and become a bigger name, generate the income from it, or to document projects for sort of later in life or future generations? Or
it's both of those. First of all, I do want to be a full-time maker, and I think YouTube could be another revenue stream to help me do that. Gets a name, gets some sponsorship, and allows me to have some money, pure and simple. But at the same time, it's not about any of the money, really. I find that I do a project, I return to that same project or do something similar 5 years later, and can't remember for the life of me how I did that or what I did or what I'm doing. And the process, not even just being able to refer back to a video, the process of actually documenting it, sitting in front of a computer and editing it and going through and planning it a little bit properly, it sinks in. So suddenly that thing that I've done a video on, it's like, yeah, I know about that. Rather than, I did one of those once, I think.
It's sort of reaffirming your own knowledge and skill set, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's also, I got a little girl, Ellie, about 5 years old. I'd like her to look back one day, maybe when I've gone, and think, that's my dad. What an idiot. But still, that's my dad.
Kind of like we do now with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just point out to the audience, we don't generally call him Dad.
No.
Well, no. Well, sometimes.
Just for fun.
There was a question from, now it's completely distracted, just a completely random question from Dale from Maple Tree Studios. What's your favourite 8-bit game?
Oh, that's such a Dale question as well.
Well, Dale is kind of he's collecting a lot of those old machines.
Yeah,
he's got kind of it's turning himself into a history of computing guy.
I can't remember, and this is really wrong, and Dale will hate for me for this if I get it wrong, but I can't remember. Was the Amiga 500 an 8-bit machine? It was a 16-bit machine, wasn't it?
I have no idea. I can never afford one of those.
If it was on the if it was on the Amiga, it was cannon fodder. It has to be. Just going around, a bunch of little guys, blasting stuff. Just so simple.
Oh, no. I spoke out of turn. 16-bit.
It's 16-bit.
Oh, no. There's a bit of...
there we go.
Bit of discussion in the chat there.
It's all those custom...
Dale saying 16-bit. We've got Cuz saying 8-bit for the Amiga 500.
Huh.
We'll let them fight that out in the chat.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of get back to kind of sort of the YouTube and the making side of that. Yeah. You've done a variety of things. Yeah, you've worked with a number of people. You've created a number of different projects, whether it's collaborations. Yeah. You are known sometimes for being exuberant and kind of pushing limits sometimes. You're trying things out. Yeah, the 3D printer turned into a CNC using a duct tape and a rotary tool. Yeah, it was
an epic,
interesting experiment. Yes, there will be a link later in the week to that video in the chat. It's not there at the moment, or in the description, rather than the show notes.
It'll be so easy to follow the trends. Like we were talking about before we went live, the tensegrity table. I wanted to build one, and 3 months later, when I'm still thinking, I should build one of those one day, suddenly 100 videos of people making them came out. I was like, hype train. And I don't like going for the hype train. I just do want to do stuff that I want to see. Yeah. And I know that sort of is counterintuitive to having a successful YouTube channel, but it's worth it to just do what you want to do and have fun.
Of course. I mean, that's surely got to be what it's about for you first and foremost, especially if it's not a business enterprise sort of thing. You're not chasing the money, then surely you've got to enjoy what you're doing rather than just being a mundane business venture where you turn up to work, do your 9 to 5, making your video, what's on trend. Yeah.
The review videos that I keep doing, they're one of the most boring videos to make because you're doing a review of a project. I try and put a little bit of funniness in them and a little spin on them, for my own sanity, just to make these things fun to make. Like the leaf blower,
character, isn't it?
Yeah. I did the leaf blower the other day. Who's going to be watching a leaf blower video at this time of year? Maybe someone like me who's really lazy and hasn't done their leaves yet, perhaps, but generally speaking, no. So I just went and had fun. One scene I had me running around with the leaf blower pretending it was a laser cannon, blasting aliens, dodging explosions. Why not?
It was a fun
and you added effects to that. So is that an aspect of YouTube that you like to do? The kind of the creation of a
Yeah.
story, adding the effects, doing the edits.
Yeah, I think so. I've always been a little bit of a creative like that, on the less the making side, but sometimes the digital art side. I did a media studies GMVQ at school. Spent 2.5 years at university doing media technology as well. So it's kind of always where my head's been at. I couldn't just do something where I just sit there in front of the camera. Obviously present company excluded, but and just rabbit on.
It works for an hour, but yeah, any more than that.
Exactly. Any more than that, I'd have to have some like pyrotechnics or something, and pull a string and some party poppers. And just...
So the storytelling is important then.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. I think.
I guess that's gone.
No, I think a video, even a review video, has to have a little bit of a story and a little bit of fun in it. Otherwise, it's just too useful.
Yeah.
JPage just asked in the chat, what were you thinking when you did the Brothers Make collaboration?
I was thinking this towel will be fine. What's the worst that could happen?
I'll link that one in the description as well for people who might want to watch it. But I would perhaps put a warning before watching.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That. Don't watch it with your children, perhaps.
You definitely scarred Matt and Johnny for life, I think.
You can't. I made sure I edited it, so you can't see anything too bad. Just I'm only naked from the top up. It's fine, except for what Matt and Johnny saw, obviously. It's all good.
Now, Jamie and I happen to know that you are quite good friends with James Bruton.
Yes, yeah.
Who is quite a big name in kind of the YouTube maker world.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Is it just the fact he's local, or?
Partially, because we actually were two of the directors that started the Makerspace together. He was sort of coming along to the meetups and everything, and he was one of the people who wanted to get involved. At the time, yeah, he had a YouTube channel, but it wasn't that big, a couple of thousand subscribers, if I remember. And he was selling mannequin heads and various other prop making sort of stuff out of a container that he'd imported from China. And he started to realize, hang on a minute, I'm making more money doing a YouTube video than I'm selling any of this stuff. And so he got rid of it all and doubled down and went all in. And yeah, now he's a full-time YouTuber, of course. The whole time, other than the last 3 years, me saying, oh, if James can do it, I can do it. Yeah, no problem at all. And of course, finally went ahead and done it.
Yeah, at some point, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, at some point I'll do a proper collaboration with him as well.
That'd be good to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a couple of ideas we've been bouncing around, but a little bit up in the air at the moment because a few other plans that we've both got.
Is it an animatronic Chris, by any chance?
No. Can I just grab a pen?
Add it to the list.
Yeah. No, it's and we became pretty good friends. I mean, he was at my wedding. I can't remember much of the stag do, but he was at that as well. And yeah, it was good to. I showed him how to 3D print as well, which is ironic because now, of course, everyone thinks, oh, 3D printing, James. No one thinks of me.
Yeah, he certainly has he's taken the lead on that.
Yeah,
hasn't he? I mean, he's doing some fantastic work with the 3D printing.
Yeah, he's got a few Guinness records, like the largest 3D printed person. Him, of course.
Well, I mean, in fairness though, he's printed the whole outside of himself. Has he ever printed anything from inside his body?
No. That's one of the things we were batting around actually. A couple of years ago, and I went for not an MRI, a CAT scan. Mm-hmm. Everything was all good. It was all worthwhile. But of course,
they found the cat.
They found the cat, took it out, and they because of lovely data laws and stuff. That data is yours. It's your body, so you can request it. And of course, not only can you request it, you can then take it, you can 3D model it, and you can 3D print it. and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things to it. And yeah, I've got a few ideas on what I'm going to do there. Maybe mix it with an ocarina and play my heart, or maybe my rib cage and do a xylophone. I don't know. It's got to be done though.
Absolutely.
But it's one of those ones where I keep putting it off because I really need to do that one justice.
So for our audio listeners there, that's Andy unwrapping a sweet.
Yeah, sorry for that.
Because
vocal cords lubricated.
I'm looking forward to everyone seeing my insides just dancing around or doing something.
There you go. An animatronic Chris's heart. Maybe that would be the way to do it. Just have it beat into
eating away. Yeah, someone just like pulling it out of me, maybe yelling "Kalima, Kalima."
But you could just have it as like some sort of scale it up and turn it into some sort of like beating prop that's linked. You could have like a little thing that registers your pulse, and as you get more and more excited walking around an event or something, it could beat to your pulse.
That's pretty dangerous. Some wire malfunction. Oh no, where's Chris?
Or the other way around, if you're trying to conceal your current excitement about something,
exactly.
Get away.
I could run into someone and try and act all cool, but really the whole, over the other end of the hall, there's a stand that is exploding.
It's Andy Pugh.
Indeed. Yeah. No, I thought there's a lot of stuff you could do with this data. I was thinking about a little wooden sculpture, where you can CNC any STL or any like 3D model file into sections, many sections. I was thinking about maybe doing the heart into sections of wood and having it as some kind of sculpture in the garden.
That would be really cool.
Ooh. Maybe strawberries, or maybe something a bit more relevant like a bleeding heart for any gardeners out there sort of bursting out of it.
So layers interspaced with a gap, with brass rods to gaps in between.
I'll probably do it all in wood.
From those old 3D puzzles you used to get that were all in layers.
Yep.
You'd make like the Beatles heads and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. It's so easy, and I really should just get on and do it. But I keep getting sidetracked by other little projects. I mean, you all know how it is. You've got a plan, and then you've got like 5 different projects on the go, and sometimes you've got a deadline on one of them as well. So your favourite one sometimes just gets pushed aside.
Well, I mean, you will take on these collaborations and company sidekicks from people like Works and stuff. You're bound to run out of time.
Yeah. I mean, Works at the moment, they're a fantastic company because they're one of those companies that I did a video on the leaf blower, like I mentioned the other day. I said, "Do you want to see it before I put it out live?" And they just said, "No, we don't vet the videos. Just chuck it out there. What's the next thing you want?" So that was amazing to hear from a company saying, "No, we don't want you to censor it." Nice. And there's a few companies like that out there that do that, which is marvelous. Yeah. There's a few companies you upset by doing a bad review, but
they've got to have better products then.
Exactly. But yeah, Works have sent me this. I don't know if you can see it there. It's a marvelous little rotary tool that uses their battery system. I'm not going to turn this into an advert, but I love it, really do. I've been outside today carving in the garden. It just plugs into one of their batteries. In fact, it comes with a soldering iron as well. The soldering iron's not that good, but the rotary tool is amazing.
Is it good enough for something like pyrography though? Or?
Yes, actually, yeah. You can do pyrography quite happily on it. It's no substitute for like a proper razor tip or Peter Child machine or anything like that, but yeah, it's still usable. It's better than those 10 quid Weller pyrography machines that you see on Amazon all the time.
Yeah, I've got one of those. Yeah, it's not great.
They're not great. So I've got to do a review on that soon as well. But I've been actually having quite a bit of fun with that, and it's no substitute to like a proper. I've got a Fordham in the corner, a proper decent like Dremel. What do they call it? 40-flex. Anything like that. Obviously, it's not supposed to be though. It's not trying to be. It's supposed to be something you take on the go. Maybe stick in your camping bag or kit bag. And yeah, really do like it. So look, keep an eye out for that soon. That's coming out. Unfortunately, again, it's a time sink.
Of course. Yeah.
Most things are. I mean, how do you? You've got a busy job working for a big company that works internationally. You've got as you've mentioned, you've got a young family. How do you cope with all these things? You've got like you say, you've got a list of 1,000 projects. You've got obviously, as you said, you've got less involvement in the makerspace currently. Certainly, the pandemic, and that's probably put a lot of people's makerspaces on hold. But how do you kind of cope with all these things, sort of time-wise? Do you have strategies in place, or do you just not cope and you just do what you can?
Honestly, I don't cope, and I do what I can. You nailed on the head there. She's quite good. The little girl will go down about 7:30, which leaves a little bit of an evening free. But of course, at the end of a hard day, and then doing a little bit of parenting, having the mental energy to actually get anything done sometimes is quite difficult. I mean, I've only got the one. I don't know how others cope with, like, crikey, like yourself, Andy, and just having multiple children as well. But yeah, just do what I can. If something's important though, and something's fun, you just got to make that little bit of time, even if it's just half an hour an evening.
I guess having the kind of you've got a workshop at home, which we've talked about makerspaces. Some people don't have that luxury of a good space at home, and you've got that. So I suppose you've been able to dip into your space and do a bit.
Again, there's advantages. Yeah, there's advantages, like you can just dip in for a little 5-minute thing, but because you're always at home, you're not making an evening of it. Let's say if you had a makerspace, that'd be it. That'd be you written off for that evening. You'd be out, you'd be there, and that's that whole time for making stuff or doing stuff. Well, at home, you might be dragged back if there's an issue or something, or just inviting some friends over, or friends. You just want to get on and make
a trade-off, isn't there?
Yeah.
I was just looking back through questions that the live audience have put out, and a couple of ones pop up. One regarding the CAT scan that you've got from JP, sort of saying, is everything to scale? I'm guessing that it's medical grade, so it ought to be.
It's pretty impressive, actually.
What you want.
I mean, you can scale the STL, of course, just to.
You can scale the STL, but on the images, you do have proper scaling and everything, so you know exactly how big things are. It's pretty good data. I hopefully everyone in the audience never has to have a CAT scan or MRI, but if you ever have to do one, do consider getting that data. Even if you don't think you're going to do anything with it now, maybe in 5 years, or maybe you just want to send it to me if it's not too obscene. I might be able to help you out. Please, nothing below the belt.
You don't want a knee one then.
Knees are fine, I guess.
Yeah. And James from Molten Make has asked, just changing the topic really. So, what's your experience of a non-English speaking maker community? And have you got any good suggestions of people to follow? I'm not sure if that's of non-English speaking maker community people to follow, or just generally, but which will lead us nicely.
I don't know of any non-English speaking, because all of the non-English makers that I know all speak relatively good English. Like Emmanuel, the practical engineer, for example, absolutely amazing maker, and his channel in the last year or two has exploded as well, because he's been doing some amazing stuff. Ivan awesome. Miranda as well. Obviously, he does some like really amazing 3D prints. He did that sand crawler thing that printed letters in the sand, completely 3D printed. That was amazing. Obviously, English isn't his native language, but he speaks still pretty good English. So sorry, I can't think of any non-English speaking ones.
But interesting, Emil has moved to do all his videos now in Dutch.
That's right.
Although he puts up subtitles in English, it's all in Dutch now.
Yeah,
and I think
that was a conscious choice.
That's where he really took off. Yeah, because he put a video about why he decided to do that, because he was growing steadily and well and producing great work. He's a brilliant engineer. It's one of those things. It'd be lovely to kind of know, would he have made as good or better growth if he had kept to just doing English?
I don't know.
And there probably isn't an answer, but it's an interesting question. but he's done fantastic. I can remember when he sort of first started out. I think I was.
Yeah, he's made a lot of very, very brilliant viral videos as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And silly little things. I think he's got the same thought process. He just wants to make something silly. He's not worried about trends, and he just goes ahead and does it. It's like the Oreo dispenser. He just sticks his chin on a little thing, and an Oreo pops out. I mean, personally, I would have done it where an Oreo shoots out at your face, but different approach, perhaps. Yeah, he does some good stuff, and I think the algorithm has probably helped him out because there's probably not that many really talented, in comparison to English-speaking Dutch makers. You know, just in terms of numbers. No disrespect to any Dutch people, of course. So I reckon the algorithm has probably bumped him up a little bit there, and he's probably done better because he's done that change. I still watch his videos though, yes, because the English subtitles are all I need really.
Yes,
he does some good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's some of the vehicle things he's been doing lately.
Yeah,
fascinating. This new
hovercraft
is really nice too.
Yeah.
Helps. He's also a lovely person as well. So
he is. Yeah,
Yes.
I sat down at Maker Central not last year, obviously, the year before, for lunch for about half an hour, and just had a good chat with him. Absolutely smashing guy.
I think that's probably a good segue into, I think, hopefully what Jamie's just about to say.
Well, I was just about to say, has anything else been grabbing your attention, Chris?
Well, externally, other than my own little crazy world.
Yeah. Anything you've seen or projects you're working on, or anything that's been stealing your focus?
I've been hoping that the weather turns, because last year I did this, like I said, this testacular cancer awareness. You know what I mean? And I did a bit of solar pyrography, and I made this nice little magnifying glass with a really long handle. Beautiful thing. And it works. It allowed me to do the job, but British weather being what it is, I needed to invest in something bigger. So
proper magnifying glass.
And that thing,
for the audio audience, Chris has just pulled out a magnifying glass that's approximately a foot across, 30 centimeters in diameter.
It will melt metal, even in the British sun. So,
ridiculous.
So I'm looking forward to taking that out in the garden and doing some more stuff like that. Maybe even making it CNC, perhaps, just to mix things up. Obviously, that's a bit of a time sink, but we'll see. So yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to. You guys did not get the reference the other night when I mentioned it, but this little chappie here, Dell straight away, for example, in the chat, and a lot of people I suspect will recognise this little fellow.
That's not something I recognise, my friend.
No. Green Tentacle. From Day of the Tentacle, and I'm doing a purple heart, purple tentacle on the side, and then discovering that purple heart is the most horrible wood to carve. It's oily and it's really hard. I might start power carving that one.
Cheating, I think that's called. Oh, yeah. No, it's using your work's given tools, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Come on, someone in the chat.
In power carving.
Oh yeah, there's been plenty of people shouting.
People recognise it. Great,
yeah,
great. It's not right. I was really worried when
Andy
you guys
living under a rock.
You just looked at me blankly, and if I'd have mentioned Monkey Island, everyone would be there. But Day of the Tentacle, no.
Of course.
Yeah, I kind of stayed away from games after I think first Doom, that and Elite.
Oh,
took up far too much time.
Elite. I mean, that. Talking of time sinks, yes.
The very first one.
Yeah.
I got the hyperdrive. I had the Acorn Electron, and I got the hyperdrive. Worked for months to get it, and I hit the hyperdrive. Obviously, hyperdrives was kind of the most expensive thing you could buy. So I then
6,000 credits, if I remember.
Yeah, weeks and weeks and weeks then building up kind of everything. So I was in the best possible position before my hyperdrive leaped to some new galaxy, and there must have been a bug or something because I hit the button and nothing happened. Yeah. So apart from the very first Doom and a little spur into the very first Lemmings, I kind of have avoided games generally since then.
I miss Lemmings. That was a good game. It's been far too long since I played that.
Yeah, that and a weird spoon carving video. Well, maybe spoon carving. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I've been basically ordering too many Starbucks. Probably a lot of people have been doing this in the lockdown. They give you all these like wooden bits of cutlery, so I've dyed a bunch of it. Doesn't look very good, but I broke open and they're quite good. And I'm gonna.
You can just buy that. You don't have to actually subject yourself to Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, but where's the fun in that? So I've been collecting all these spoons and bits and pieces, dyeing them, and I'm going to make a handle for my spoon carving knife, and then also carve a spoon. Because I want
a knife and fork.
It's a Woodgineer twist.
Yeah. Why not?
So what about outside of your own work? What's been grabbing your attention, either YouTube or the internet or elsewhere?
What, in the world? Nothing good.
Yeah, anything.
Nothing good is happening in the world right now. So, yeah, I've been pretty much focused on the making, doing what I can, working hard, and any kind of time off that I get where I just need to let my brain rest. I've been doing the most ridiculous things like playing long games of Hearts of Iron or watching reruns of Buffy and Angel. Which
my wife's watching Buffy at the minute.
I feel a little bit ashamed to admit it, but it just reminds me of simpler times.
Absolutely. How about you, Andy? Has anything been grabbing your attention recently?
Well, this week, let's have a look. This week, I didn't really get much time into the Tinkerage. I spent several days this week doing some fairly heavy-duty, not in terms of technical difficulty, but doing some editing of some family photos. It was just a little bit hard. So that took a few days, but was worth doing. I've been, let's see, what else have we been doing? Got given some locks. A few years ago, I got given the lock picking set with one of those transparent locks. And I kind of really fancy actually sort of upping my skills on that. Yeah, a bit of lock sport. So maybe make a few tools. So I managed to borrow a Euro lock from a kind of patio door Euro lock. So I'm going to make a bracket for that. I might make a video out of it too because it's going to be really easy. Should be able to do that fairly quickly. Obviously, I spent quite a bit of time continuing the setup of Makers Waffle. So we've got a few things sort of going on that. We've been obviously just getting the first videos edited and out onto this channel. So just a reminder, if you're watching live or if you're watching later in the week, then please do subscribe. We were at the start of this, we were on 82 subscribers. I'm not sure where we're at the moment, but getting pretty close to that magic 100 subscriber position where we can claim a custom URL, which would just be a really nice thing to do. Yeah, it's I don't think many podcasts get huge numbers, but yeah, if we can get to 100, we can get that. That would be nice. And yeah, maybe in a few years' time we're at the 1,000, but and can monetize, but I think that's a long way off. But
that's
getting that custom URL would be nice. Yeah, it's been really good. The support we've had so this week, I've had quite a few messages from people, and I know you have too, Jamie. We've had a few little sort of hints and tips on things we could perhaps do to improve. Hopefully, there's slightly less sibilance from myself this evening, and I've repositioned the laptop so not got a glaring light up here, kind of causing a bit of a distraction.
I'm afraid I'm still very, very shiny up on top, so I need to sort that.
Oh, I put some powder on before I started. So kind of sort of been busy with that. But a couple of things caught my attention kind of on the tubes this week, on YouTube particularly. There was a video released last night by somebody in the audience this evening. That's Mr. Huey Lionsheart, which is a steampunk fish. There's been I think a series of challenges. People have been kind of making things. I think it was a fish challenge. I may be wrong on that, but Huey put out a video last night of this really quite amazing fish, which it's not there yet, but will be in the description when this gets sort of edited slightly and put out later in the week, and will be in the show notes when show notes appear. They will be on Anchor. We've had an increase in the number of places the podcasts are available, still not yet on Apple Podcasts, or iTunes as it was. But hopefully that will happen soon. It's out on quite a few of the other providers
it's already up on Spotify and things, and I've seen it on a few of the others.
Google Podcasts, I think it's arrived there as well. I had a message about that. The other one that caught my eye, those who perhaps are on the Makers on YouTube Facebook group knew that certainly for about 14 or 15 months going into last year, starting kind of, I think it was 2018, I was putting up weekly kind of recommendations of people with smaller channels to go and follow, particularly kind of the sub 100s, but just kind of promoting people when I could. And somebody that would probably get a mention, a newish channel, I think it's got about 68 subscribers, is somebody called Janian Makes. I think it's got great potential. It's not one of these kind of people who started out his channel and is already superb. That occasionally happens. You get people who kind of, they've got 10 subscribers, but they happen to have a background in video editing and they put out these amazing videos. But seems to be a nice guy. He's making nice little short videos, quite interesting. He posted one this week where he made some picture frames. His wife and he had celebrated their second anniversary, and he made some picture frames for a couple of pictures that they'd been given for their at their wedding. But it's a nice touch. He reused some of the parts of the cheap picture frames. He just made new frames, but he used the glass, he used the backing. And I like that. Yeah, it wasn't just a case I wanted to throw the whole thing away. I want this to look really good, but and it fits what I've got, but I'm going to put a nice frame on it, but I'm going to use that.
Sort of like a recycling, upcycling sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's caught my eye. I can't remember where I came across him now, but yeah, it's a nice little channel. I'll link that through. It'd be nice for perhaps people to go and sort of have a little look and maybe give him some support. But what about you, Jamie? What's caught your eye on?
Well, I've been battling with the sort of discussed last week about the hovelin that I'm 3D printing for my daughter. So a fully 3D printed violin. So I've been managed to get the neck and headstock all printed, and I've been attempting to sand it as best I can, but it's a horrifically tedious task. But I had a couple of failures on the main body of it, because it's like a 42-hour print. So it might actually, the mic might actually be picking it up, because unfortunately it is printing at the minute. It's about 30 odd hours in at the minute on this one. But I had a complete failure at 21.5 hours the other day, which was a shame. But that's fortunately coming along quite nicely.
So for the audio listeners, Jamie was holding up, it's probably the bottom quarter of a violin, so where the strings would be attached.
So it's a full
it looks to me like it would make quite a nice little pen pot.
That's a good shout, actually. I might do that.
Pen pot for a musician.
Yeah. Well, I'll be going to my dad next week, so that might be a good thing to take in. But now, other than that, I managed to get that the belt prop that I talked about last week. I managed to get that off to the client, who was very happy with it. So I've got to do a little bit of digging around, because unfortunately it was one of those where I did a good job and he was happy with it. So he's then put an order in for a couple of other bits. So I've got to sort of do a bit of digging around and come up with some plans and stuff. But the other thing, it's just a bit of relaxing this week, actually, or trying to. So I've been watching a bit of Tank the Tech on YouTube.
Relaxing. That's a strange concept.
Being hot and not being out in lifting heavy things or getting too hot and sweaty and uncomfortable. So bit of in the office things. Bit of, like you say, like you've been doing, a bit of poking and prodding of spreadsheets and Trello boards and background Makers Waffle podcast stuff. But no, Jim from Wave Cycles, our good friend, put me on to talk about the music reaction stuff, or the reaction videos last week. But Tank the Tech is an American it's a roadie basically, an audio technician, and he does some really good reactions to metal bands and things like that. So I've been enjoying a bit of that, a bit of good music and some geeking out over audio equipment and things.
Nice.
That's sort of been my thing.
Talking of sort of lists, we have been continuing our not search for, because we've got no problems with names, but we've started contacting more and more makers and making appointments for people to come on as guests. We've got Kjell Otto next week, I believe, if I remember correctly, and so that one's sorted out. And we've got Duncan Band from the Little Hobby Shop the week after that.
Hopefully, we're waiting for a definite confirmation, because that is Father's Day. So
yes,
I think it might be one that might end up just a me and you, Andy, just for or hopefully we might get Duncan on.
Yes, or if necessary, we kind of get kind of emergency guest in at some point. I'm sure we've got a few people in the bag for that, which might be possible. I won't give any more names at the moment, but we've got a couple of bigger people lined up for later in June and into not so much June, but certainly in July. We've got a couple of sort of bigger channels, some people that are well known here and in kind of this Sunday evening slot, and some that maybe are less well known in this Sunday evening slot, but certainly are sort of growing channels and doing some really interesting things. So looking forward to that. I think we're at an hour and 6 minutes. So
I think we found a natural end.
Yes. Just a reminder, as I said in the first episode, we're probably not going to spend ages sort of promoting ourselves too much. It will be the sort of thing that's in the sort of show notes, but we are slowly building up our repertoire of social medias under Makers Waffle. So we've got quite a few things for Makers Waffle. Not all under operation, not fully operational yet. So we've got Twitter, and I have posted a couple of things to Twitter, but it's not in the system yet to put out regularly.
I don't think I'm following that one yet.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. I put a couple of posts on Instagram, and hopefully try and get a few more going out there, and try and sort of highlight some of the things that we mentioned, some of the projects, and some of the people that we and our guests talk about. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a Patreon. We don't have a rewards system in place yet. One of those will be perhaps our planning chats rather than a pre-show or after show, which may happen at some point. We might decide to do that because we're obviously still evolving, but we'll probably record some of our planning shows, not necessarily all of it. We don't want to discuss the list of people that we're not going to interview, which a few people have asked about, but keeping stum on that one.
The cat's out of the bag that we've already had Chris on, so he's definitely not on that list.
Yeah.
Shocked,
so this is how people will find out
from
which
day
list
one,
they're
to be
on.
honest.
Yeah. We've had a question from Ian in the Shed, which is, will we running the podcast live from Makers Central? I'm assuming it's Makers Central. It's got Makers there. We haven't actually chatted about that yet. Maybe that's something we'll have to chat one of the planning things and get out on Patreon. That bit of a teaser.
I suppose it depends whether or not we get our 100 subscribers. We don't want to be just some complete no-name podcast turning up.
That's true. Yeah, we would need to be big enough. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's the Hilton's not in operation this year. I know,
correct.
Gentings is, I think, to become the place for some of the people to stay. I know people will be staying in Premier Inn and the Moxie, amongst others, which are the kind of the sort of nearest ones to the NEC itself. I'm currently working. I wasn't sure whether I'd be going or not, but I'm kind of working on the plan that I aim to get there. But a few logistical hurdles to sort out with that one, having its date shifted. So I'm pretty sure that hopefully, if it goes ahead, Jamie and I will be there. Will we put a live podcast out from there? I think we'll have to discuss that. I think
we could always record it from a bar somewhere, and then it might not be live, but we could record it on the Friday and then just post the video.
That is a potential option. Yeah, I think we can. We'll come up with some options. I think that's probably the best thing to say for the moment. We will come up with some options and see what we can do. But certainly, really looking forward to going.
Definitely. As for where we know we can find us Makers Waffle in places. Where can we find you, Chris?
Well, yeah, you can find me quite easily. Yeah, the YouTube channel is probably the primary point of contact, or over on Instagram. I guess you guys will pop links on your thing as well.
Yeah, full set of links will go up in the show notes when the podcast goes out, and onto the YouTube channel when the video gets posted formally on in the midweek.
So the YouTube channel is the best place to stalk you, then, is it?
Absolutely, yes. Not on Facebook, especially not at the moment. I'm having some issues, as some of you might.
Yes. A couple of people. Yeah, there were a few people were asking earlier in the week whether Chris was okay and why he had blocked them or wasn't available. But you had a case of the classic Facebook hacking, we believe.
Yeah, it's easily resolved. Just you have to wait for the team to get on and verify your documentation and everything, and
DNA samples and the like.
Exactly. I'm still waiting to. At the same time, I'm waiting on this lottery win, of course, that I've gone for as well. And
one, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and when that comes in, I'll be fine. Yeah,
it should turn up the same time as those tablets you ordered as well.
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about the affiliate link, so you can see those. They're for a friend.
Okay. I think on that note, I think we shall bid our live audience good night and have a good week. And we look forward to seeing you next week. And please do reach out. Let us know if there's things you don't like. And if there's things you do like, let us know. And we may or may not change things. We want to evolve and we want to keep it simple. And hopefully it'll be something that will become our show. And will come in the way that people will enjoy. So
we want to be Makers Waffle, but we do definitely want to steal the good ideas from the other podcasts that we listen to.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Anything that's worth spiffing, we will of course consider.
Should I hide the Fools of Tools logo behind me there for our video listeners?
You could still use the old Jamie's page, almost, couldn't you? Just.
Too many Jamies. It's bad enough that people already get us too confused.
Right, I think that might be a good point to end. So thank you very much, folks.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming on.
No problem at all. Our pleasure. Thank you for agreeing to come on. Not knowing what could happen.
Your check's in the post.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Bye, folks.